You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Yo, it's Dr. J here in the house. It's a great, magnificent Monday. I got my little Topo Chico, little sparkling bubbles here. Evan, how was your weekend, man?
Oh, life is good. I don't remember the weekend. The weekends are so weird. Once you have a baby, I'm sure you figured out the same thing. The weekend's just like, they go by and then all of a sudden it's Monday again. And I just love working so much that it's like, oh, it's Monday, my favorite day of the week.
I feel the same way too. I love Mondays because I love getting back in the swing and creating content and seeing patients and getting all these great feedbacks of people getting better, or, you know, you get challenging cases that really cause you to roll up your sleeves. So I definitely like that for sure.
Me too. And how was it for you?
That was great. This weekend, my wife, because we had a baby like a month and a half ago. Let's see, August 21st. And she went out Friday and Saturday night, and I had babysitting duty. It was great.
Oh, man, I've never done that myself, even with a 15-month-old.
Not yet. Yes. So she went out. She gave me, I had a bottle, breast milk in a bottle, and just gave him a, little bottle. But, it created a little balance there because she's been basically breastfeeding off and on every hour or two.
That's hard.
For the last 6 weeks. It's hard because she was
text you the whole time missing the baby.
Well, I was kind of giving her updates, but she was feeding, doing the SNS, and then pumping. And then the time that all finished, the next feeding started in 45 minutes. So you can imagine that for 5 or 6 weeks was really hard. Now it's getting like 2 hours after, or an hour and a half to 2 hours. So now it's like, oh, it's getting a little bit better. The 2 hours, you can at least close your eyes and get a little bit of restorative sleep in there. So that's good.
Good. That's great. Cool. So you were the babysitter.
That's it, man.
That's awesome.
It's crazy how life is, man. Just things continue to evolve and you get satisfaction out of different things. You wouldn't think that holding your baby and having them smile at you or just hold your finger or whatever could be that satisfying. But it's funny how that evolves and changes.
I know, man. It's great. It's like a DNA trick. So we'll take care of them.
Exactly. Now, we wanted to talk today about probiotics. Speaking of DNA, we want to talk about probiotics. And probiotics, again, we're going to kind of hone in on that topic because we talked about probiotics before, but we're going to really address the area of spore probiotics, which are like the cell walls of these specific spores called bacillus spores. There's a couple that we use in our clinic called Bacillus clausii, subtilis, and coagulus. Bacillus coagulus, subtilis, and clausii. Those are the big ones that we use. And these are basically the cell wall of these kind of bacteria, which is the spore. And they have an awesome benefit of modulating the immune system. A couple other things that we find that a lot of these microbes in our body, fungus and bacteria and parasites, EMFs or electromagnetic frequencies have a real negative effect on making these infections worse. And what we're finding is some of these bacillus strains, some of these spore strains can really help combat against the negative effects that EMF has with some of these critters. So that's another good benefit. I'll open the floor up to you here, Evan.
Yeah. So EMF, I mean, I've done episodes on this since the inception of the podcast in 2012. So this is 5 years of talking about it in some shape or form. The more I learn about it, the more that I learn it affects every body system. So like you just say, I'm going to say it in a different way. The EMF can actually strengthen the virulence of these infections. So if someone's got parasites, yeast, fungus, we may need to look at bringing probiotics in and really upping the beneficial bacteria to try to counteract the effects of EMF. Now, just because you're not sensitive to EMF doesn't mean that it's not a factor, right? You might not have the headaches or the ringing of the ears that a lot of people talk about, or the heart palpitations. Like, you may not have true EHS, like electronic hypersensitivity syndrome, or EHS, or they have different names for it. If you're not that sensitive, it doesn't matter. You're still going to benefit by protecting yourself and protecting your microbes by using either these bacillus spores that we're going to talk about, or just by using other types of probiotics and at the right time. One thing I wanted you to hit on, Justin, is talk about the timing a bit and how we kind of work this in, because many people go to Whole Foods and they buy a probiotic and they take it, and then they come back to us and they say, Dr. J, Evan, I took probiotics and I feel worse. What's going on? It's all about the timing.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. So a lot of probiotics, like your bacillus, your lactobacillus, your acidophilus, right, your bifidobacter kinds of probiotics, right? These probiotics tend to be more acid sensitive. Now, there's some that Evan has in his line that are acid resistant because they're in this like a sphere that kind of is acid resistant, and taking that can kind of get through some of the stomach acid. We may also just time it on an empty stomach to bypass the stomach acid, so we can have that bacteria intact when it gets to the small intestine, to the colon. And then we can have a lot of benefits with immune modulation. We can have a lot of benefits of boosting up the healthy bacteria, so we get better B vitamin increase, because we get the good bacteria produces B vitamins. Also, healthy bacteria, I know with the bacillus strains that we see, one of the great things is it helps convert sugar to vitamin C. And vitamin C is super important for collagen, for immune function, for oxidative stress, right? Oxidation is the apple that you cut open, then it sits on the countertop and turns brown, or the nail left outside that gets rusty. That's oxidation. That's a loss of an electron. Antioxidants like vitamin C can help donate electrons and prevent that oxidative stress. So healthy bacteria, in particularly the bacillus strains, can really help with the vitamin C conversion from sugar, which is great. And then your other strains like the lactobacillus acidophilus, right? These produce acids, which are great because acidic environment actually keeps a lot of the bad bacteria and fungus in check from growing. That's why lots of people do great with apple cider vinegar. It's like this cure-all because the acetic acid's got a very low pH. That makes it really hard for microbes and not so nice microbes to work. And it also can stimulate your own hydrochloric acid production as well.
Yep. We had a question from Haley. She said she read that the strain L. Gasseri reduces histamine. Have you ever heard of this? Yes, I have heard of certain strains of probiotics helping to reduce histamine. I don't know if this is correct, but I remember seeing that the Rhamnosus species, I could try to find this journal I had bookmarked. I believe the Lactobacillus rhamnosus was something that actually increased histamine, which is why some people may feel worse. I just found it here. Histamine production by Lactobacillus rhamnosus. And Haley just said she read other strains can increase. Yeah, I've read the same thing as well, which is why typically we're going to use a combination, and we're likely going to have a blend. So if you've got some things that are stabilizing histamine, you're typically going to counteract the other one that could increase histamine.
Yeah, and again, people that typically are histamine sensitive, a lot of times probiotics in general can create a histamine intolerance. So I see a lot of people that will just do a really good, lactobacillus or bifidobacter or lactobacillus plantarum, whatever, like that may cause them to get bloated or gassy. If they are probiotic intolerant, one of the things we go to a spore-like probiotic, because people that are histamine sensitive tend to be able to tolerate that well. And one things we like about the bacillus spores is it's acid resistant. So you can actually take it with food, which can make it a little bit easier to process than taking it maybe on an empty stomach. So we like that.
Yeah. Now, like you mentioned, you and I use some specific types of probiotics out there that can have an encapsulating technology where you can preserve them.
Yes.
So this doesn't mean that you have to ditch all other probiotics. This just means that unless you're using the formulas that Justin and I have, if you're not using ours, then you want to use a spore-based, because all the other ones, unless it says, hey, we've got some special, if you're looking at the label, unless it says, hey, we've got a special tableting technology that protects from stomach acid, you're kind of wasting your money on most other probiotics.
Oh, absolutely. I know the ones that we typically use, they'll put like colony forming units on there, which,
Yeah.
that's like how many probiotics are in there. There's a couple things to look at. Number one is that the colony forming units of the probiotics that were put in there when it was bottled, or how many do you expect to be in there at expiration 1 or 2 years later? So number one, when we put the CFU on that bottle, that's going to be how many we expect to be there in 1 to 2 years later when it expires. So you're ideally adding so many extra in there, so you're compensating for potential things that may knock it out, like heat or shipping or storage stuff, or just things that are normal with getting that product to the patient. So when you see what's on the bottle there, you're typically getting more than what's in the bottle, because we have to make sure we overshoot and compensate for all the little mishaps that may lower it.
Right. Well said. So talk about the immune system a bit. You wrote some notes before the show about the Th1 and the Th2 immune system. Can you talk us through that and kind of break down what Th1 is and 2? And you were talking about how so many of us are Th2 dominant in the modern world now, mainly from vaccines, and that the Th1 system, this kind of seesaw, can be balanced out with the use of these spore probiotics.
Yeah, great question, Evan. So a lot of people, their Th2 immune system is overstimulated, and your Th2 immune system, think about it, it's the antibody-based immune system. It's the humoral-based immune system. So the whole goal of like your immune system is you have like the frontline defense. This is like the Army Rangers, the Delta Team, SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEALs, right? These are the people that get in there first, and they make stuff happen, right? These are the guys that go in there first, they radio back, and then the infantry comes in second, right? So they give the infantry, they come in a few days later, once they got intel and everything's been surveilled, right? All the special forces, they radio in. The special forces are the cytotoxic, or the natural killer, kind of that cytotoxic first branch of the immune system, the Th1, and the Th2 is kind of more of that delayed antibody-based immune system that comes in after the fact. And when we look at what vaccinations do, is they boost up, they give a little bit of that compound that you're trying to develop an immune response to, i.e. the infantry, and you're trying to boost that up. So you're trying to keep basically this infantry that's hanging out, that's waiting for that critter to come in. The problem is when you boost up that infantry more and more, well, there's collateral damage that can happen, like allergies and other issues on the immune side if you continue to boost it up too high. And that's why one of the big trade-offs that's happened with a lot of vaccinations over the years is a lot of allergies, is a lot of ADD, is a lot of other parts, a lot of symptoms that can happen just because that a part of the immune system is so overstimulated. And when we do some of these bacillus spores, right, that can help knock down the Th2 by boosting up the Th1. Think of it as a seesaw. As one side goes up, one goes down. So when you boost that Th2 up so high, you're basically decreasing that cytotoxic, those Navy SEALs, those Army Rangers, right, that Delta Force, right, that we're lowering that. So by knocking that seesaw down on the Th2, we do it by boosting up the Th1, and those bacillus spores can be super helpful at doing that.
Yep, and medicinal mushrooms too. We can stack mushrooms on this with these, and we can help modulate Th1. So
we can totally do that.
We got a couple questions. We had one about food combinations. We had one about infrared sauna. Here's one from Tessa that's on topic about probiotics. Is it good to take with digestive enzymes? I guess you're saying, is it good to take digestive enzymes and probiotics together? My answer would be no, generally, just because the stomach acid is likely going to kill those. Now, even if you are taking a super high professional grade formula like Justin and I are using with you, still, we don't want to try to break down that technology. If we can preserve those bacteria and get that to the colon where it's really going to do the good thing, I would take your probiotics before you go to bed, because there's no competition for stomach acid at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think take the probiotics in the morning when you get up first thing, or before you go to bed at the very end. Take your enzymes with food. Typically, you can do enzymes before a meal too. Again, but typically with the meals also fine as well. And then regarding, did you ask about food combining yet? Was that the other question?
Well, I didn't read the question yet. It just said best food combinations, ones you can't go wrong with, like meat and salad.
Yeah, it's typically meat and non-starchy vegetables, chicken and broccoli, those kind of things. Typically fruit by themselves. Again, that may cause blood sugar stuff. So again, I typically only deal with food combining stuff where maybe starch and fruit are eaten a little bit away from things if there's a lot of digestive issues. And if there's a lot of like fructose malabsorption where you really can't digest much fruit either, fruit's gone.
Yeah.
And they may not be able to tolerate much starch. And again, some of this changes when you go lower FODMAP too. When you go lower FODMAP fruit or lower FODMAP starch, that may get better. And then if you also up the HCl and the enzyme, some of those symptoms that you may see a relief from when you food combine correctly, right? You may not need that.
Yep, well said. There were two other things we wanted to mention about the TH1, TH2 system. One, you mentioned like ADD or, some type of developmental problems or like autistic children. They could have an issue with their TH1, TH2 balance. So this is where the Spore-Biotics can come in to the equation and fix it. And then also food sensitivities. Now, a lot of that stuff gets better too. Justin and I talk so much about parasites, things like H. pylori infections, bacterial infections that are suppressing stomach acid. So food intolerances are typically related to the gut, but also we found that this whole immune system thing can also be a factor. And just by getting more beneficial bacteria in the right strains as well, all of a sudden food sensitivities go away and you can start adding stuff back in that you used to not be able to tolerate.
Yeah, and some of that's just because there's a little bit of peanut oil sometimes in some of the vaccinations as a preservative. And there's also some egg proteins in there as well. So a lot of peanuts, peanuts the last 20 years has been a huge one. I mean, you can't even take a lot of times peanuts into a regular elementary school.
I know, it's crazy.
So many kids are allergic. So I think that's part of it. I mean, there's a lot of theories that are out there saying that. So, I mean, there may not be super hard evidence on it, but we know that the amount of vaccines have, tripled, quadrupled over the last 20 years since 1991, that could be a driving factor. That would make sense for sure.
Yeah, I was glad Eric Berg, he put out a video about vaccines. Did you happen to see that one?
No, I didn't.
It's a good video. Look it up when you got time, but it was a good video. He was just like, what's my take? People ask me. He's like, I don't like them. And then he's got a full list of all the different things that are inside of those. And then plus he talks about all the different things that were deemed safe by the FDA, like DES that all those women were taking. And then you have all these different birth issues and
thalidomide with the kids with the very short arms.
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
yep.
Well, again, we got a question.
Again, on the vaccine note too, if you look at, there's a big study that was done, I think in 2014, but they looked at kind of vaccine dosages across, how many dosage or how many individual vaccines across all the countries. And I think it was a lot of the Scandinavian countries had, 75% less vaccinations and better health, better overall health. Right. So, I think just kind of keeping in mind that there may be some benefits from vaccines, but it's not, health never comes from a needle. Like just because you get a vaccine that does not replace sleep and nutrition and hydration and obviously a cleaner environment too, which is huge, right? Just plumbing and those kind of things make a massive difference when it comes to infectious disease. But these countries show that, much less vaccines dosage wise, a huge difference. They were much, far beyond us health wise.
Yep. So if you can't go back in time and change how you were vaccinated as a kid, this could also give you inspiration about how you approach adult vaccines. Because now I've got a lot of clients, I know you do too, that are approaching us and asking us about shingles vaccines. The doctors are really pushing hard for people over age 60. And then also the flu vaccines, which I've had people who get the flu after they got the flu vaccine.
Yeah, it's a live attenuated virus. It's you look on the vaccine insert, it's 20% chance of having flu-like symptoms because of the vaccine. It's on the insert. This isn't even controversial stuff, right, unless you actually go in there and ask for the vaccine insert like I have, and then you just circle the side effects and you say, hey, look, there's a side effect right there. And it's, chills, malaise, headaches, achy, tired. That sounds like the flu to me. What do you think?
It is. Well, it is the flu. Well, and the issue too, with the CDC is that when they're making those flu vaccines, they're only coming up with certain strains, right? So if there's another strain outside of the one you got vaccinated for, you'll still get the flu that year and still feel terrible. Plus, you've got the aluminum and what other preservatives or things in there that are activating that virus for you, or activating the immune system, I suppose.
Totally. So kind of the idea is on the vaccination side is you're manipulating your infantry, right? You're boosting up, you're getting a special reserve of that infantry that's going to be specially trained for that one little critter that comes into your body, which, definitely has some use for. Now, my philosophy is let's just get your immune system so freaking strong. Let's get all these infantry guys lifting weights and rock solid with the nutrition and diet. So then they are so ready to go that they're going to just plow through any critters. And that's kind of what we're talking about with all the diet, the lifestyle, the nutritional support, the nutrients to upregulate the immune system, the probiotics, like the Mega Spore-Biotic is one that we use. We'll put a link below for the link here in my store for that if you want to see that. It's a one that I use. It's a Bacillus clausii subtilis and coagulus strain that can help balance that TH2, drop it out, pop the TH1. That's great. Also medicinal mushrooms like you alluded to, and other herbs too. Astragalus, echinacea, andrographis, silver, vitamin D, of course, glutathione. These are all great immune modulators that we can really get that infantry boosted up and stronger, right?
Yep. Perfect. Rachel, nice to see you. She's got a question. My husband was regular before we went paleo/primal, but since about 2 years, he's slower, no longer pooping daily. We eat lots of veggies. He's not a stressed personality type. Any advice to improve? Justin, what do you think?
Well, off the bat, very simple. I would look at just increasing a little bit more starch, a little bit of sweet potato. That may shift things, number one. Number two, make sure the veggies are cooked. If you're doing more raw stuff and that's causing him to back up, do a little bit more cooked, steamed, sauteed. That's number two. Number three, add in some enzymes and HCl. And then number three, get your gut looked at if there's still issues with maybe dysbiosis. What happens is sometimes that starch can help feed some of that beneficial bacteria, and that gets dropped down when the starch goes down. So popping up a little bit of sweet potato, plantain, squash may give that good bacteria a little pop. But in the meantime, it just is a palliative. Not pooping daily, not passing 12 inches of stool daily is not good. You get something called auto-intoxication where you start to reabsorb a lot of the toxins in your stool. So a little bit of magnesium citrate daily to keep those bowels moving, and then taper off down the road. Give yourself a few weeks to kind of make those changes and see if you can be regular on your own.
Yeah. And Rachel, I believe you've got your stool test back from me. So look on there too. One thing that I would suggest too, get your husband a stool test and look at the beta glucuronidase enzyme, like Justin's talking about with the auto intoxication piece. We can measure that with the enzyme, and we can fix it. Milk thistle and supporting the liver and getting rid of gut bugs. But if there's H. pylori or parasites or other bacterial infections that he could have, you guys could be passing things back and forth. The infections could be slowing down the motility. I just put out a podcast with this guy, Ken Brown, who's a gastroenterologist, and he was teaching me more about methane and how certain species of these bacteria during SIBO cases are actually slowing the bowel transit time. So literally, bacterial overgrowth could just be the culprit due to the methane production. And of course, he's selling his supplement to reduce methane. But if you just fix the SIBO, that will also get you your bowels more regular. So I hope that helps.
Love it. Very cool. Well, anything else you want to add about spore-based probiotics?
I think it's something that should be in everybody's toolbox. I don't know if it's the silver bullet. I don't know if it's a lot of people find something that helps them. So then it's like, this is the only thing you could use out there. I still think there's other benefits to other probiotics that we use, but I do think it should be in everyone's toolbox, and they should at least consider looking at it and potentially using it. Could you just randomly go and take it if you've got a bunch of symptoms? What's your take? I mean, I've had so many people take probiotics so willy-nilly, and they feel worse. So I really think it's important to get tested first before you spend your money on this.
Yeah, I find that it's one of those things where if there's other deeper issues there, it's not going to be a root causal thing, right? There's too many other things going on in motion. The more other things are happening in motion and they aren't stopped or they aren't addressed, that it may help a little bit, but it may make no difference at all. So I always say, get the low-hanging fruit under control, and then if you want to add it in, great. If you want to work with a functional medicine provider like us that kind of gets things lined up for you, makes sure everything's in order, and then adds it in. Some patients I see, it really doesn't change anything. Some patients, it makes a little difference. Some patients, it makes a huge difference. But we're not ever hanging our hat on one thing. But sometimes one thing can make a big difference, but we're never expected to. So then we're always pleasantly surprised if we get one of those great cases.
Yep, well said. Well, I'd say before we just become a rambling man, we can wrap it up. I think this was a helpful episode for people. Add it to your toolbox, do a little bit of research. I think we may have done other shows. I'm sure we hit on probiotics all the time, but
I think so.
But if you've got people in your family that have issues, maybe they just won't change the diet, they could potentially get benefit. Maybe if you're looking for that one thing to try to get someone started into this field of functional medicine, maybe that probiotic is the first step. And then maybe that excites them and that encourages them to pursue the diet, the lifestyle, the sleep, the stress, the infections, the testing, and all of that. If that's the catalyst, then that's awesome.
Yeah, how we talk about any supplement is in kind of context of a whole program. Like we're doing all these different things, we're addressing all these things, and then this is another maybe piece that we plug into. We're not saying, oh, we plug this piece into someone who's not doing a darn thing. We're plugging it into a program where everything is being looked at. So that's just kind of our context. So if you're one of these people that aren't on a program or aren't doing anything diet or lifestyle wise that's really healthy, and then you think it's going to be that magic bullet, just want to make sure we set your expectations accordingly. And just, don't forget that majority of antibiotics aren't just through antibiotic prescriptions, they're on the food supply. So being more organic and eating healthy animal products, healthy fats, that's going to be helpful so you won't get that antibiotic exposure, which will throw off your gut. And healthy gut bacteria, it produces nutrition, right? Good bacteria eats poop and poops nutrition. Bad bacteria eats nutrition and poops poop. In other words, back it up. Good bacteria provides nutrients in your body, just like I mentioned with the spores and the vitamin C, which then helps with vitamin K, which then helps with vitamin D, of course, and healthy bones too. But it also, the bad stuff produces a whole bunch of crappy toxins, LPS, endotoxin, lithocholic acid, etc. These things help open the gut lining, make your gut a little bit more leaky, which then gets that Th2 immune system overreactive because you got all these undigested food particles that you start developing an immune response to. Not so good. That really gets your Th2 now even more jacked up.
Yep, well said. We have one question from Neil. He said, do you think lectins are an issue? Some are saying lectins are a real problem. Others say beans and legumes are one of the common factors of the blue zone areas. The blue zone, for people listening, that's like the people that are living to 90, 100 plus years old. Apparently, they're eating a lot of beans and such. Love the podcast. Thanks for the feedback, Neil. Justin and I, when we talk about grains, for example, like with rice, pressure cooker is the way to do it. If I do any organic white rice, it's typically like a treat for me. I put it in the pressure cooker. I tend to feel much, much, much better. But beans, I don't really do beans. Justin, what's your take?
I'll do beans every now and then, but like maybe once a month. But it's all about context. Let me give you, for instance, Evan, are massages good for you?
I would say yes.
Okay, great. Are massages good for you? Do they feel good when you have a really bad sunburn?
Oh, not really.
No. Well, think of your gut as like a sunburn, like your gut, like that's all irritated and inflamed with critters. So the more sunburn, the more intense that sunburn is, the more you may not be able to handle things that have lectins or these gut irritating compounds in them. So the sunburn gets better. You can handle that nice massage. Your gut gets better and healthier and more infection free and more good bacteria build back up. Could you tolerate a little bit of legumes here and there? Yeah, more than likely. Some may not. Right? There's not a be all or end all thing, but some may. So it's all about the context. Typically, the less inflamed you are, the better ability you have to adapt to a stressor like a lectin, for instance.
Yeah. So I'm not even going to say the guy's name because I don't want to give him any more press than he deserves. But there's a lot of anti-lectin people out there, and it's just like, to me, it's a sales pitch. It's probably going to sell a lot of books because it's like, oh my God, plants are bad for you. And then I had people emailing like, I might as well just starve to death. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I might as well starve to death. And I'm not a fan of promoting things that instill fear in people. I agree with your analogy. I missed your analogies, by the way. That was a good one. Was that right? Did you come up with that right on the spot?
Off the cuff, man. That's how my brain thinks. That if I can't create that analogy, if I can't wrap my head around it, I can't expect anyone else to either.
Well, that was a good one. And so back to my point, I don't want to instill fear upon people. I agree with your strategy and your analogy. Lectins, sure, if you did beans and rice every day, maybe you could have some issues. But if you're infection-free, your adrenals are healthy, you're going to sleep on time, you've got good relationships, you like your job, you like your boss, you've got a great spouse, like you could probably do more lectins, more rice, more beans, whatever, and maybe you could get away with it and feel okay. But
if it was in your 80-10 or 80-20 or 90-10, if it's part of that 10 or 20, you probably would be okay, barring all the things you just said.
Yep. I'm sure we could ramble on about that point. That was a great question, though.
And then also, too, certain foods are going to have more lectins. Of course, grains are going to be the bigger offender, right? Yeah. And then, you have your legumes, right? Your beans, your lentils. But, just soaking them has a huge reduction in getting those lectins down. And then even vegetables that do, just cooking them can have a huge effect on reducing some of them. So a lot of times it's not just the sheer amount. It's, well, how can you prepare it to reduce those lectins as well?
Yep. The pressure cooker for me has been a game changer for the rice.
And just the paleo template or autoimmune template to start. I think has probably the best effect at reducing most of those right there off the bat.
Yep. Tess had a question. My brother has celiac disease. Are probiotics a good idea in his case?
Well, you'd want to really do a whole bunch of things, but would probiotics be part of that plan? Yeah, absolutely. You do a 6R protocol with this. You'd remove the bad foods, you'd replace enzymes, acids, you would repair the gut lining and the adrenals and the hormone systems. You'd remove the infections, you'd retest, or you'd repopulate healthy probiotics, then you'd retest.
Yeah, I agree. Celiac's the manifestation, but there's probably 5, 6, 7 puzzle pieces that have to be laid out.
Mm-hmm.
Probiotics may be 5% of the equation. It may be 15%. Who knows? Until we
get it. Yeah. I mean, if you added some good probiotics, like in my line, ProBioFlora or something like that, would that be helpful? Yes. But if he did it in conjunction with drinking his wheat beer and continuing to eat grains all day, it may be like using a beautiful golden nail on some rotten wood. It's just like, it's not enough.
Right. You got to go deep. And even the diet, we've had celiac clients and patients that come to us where even the diet is not enough because they've got infections that are tearing apart that gut lining, creating that leaky gut situation, and they're reacting to everything. So even the paleo or a gluten-free diet may not be enough. And usually it's not. That's why we do what we do.
Bingo. Love it, man. Hey, let's chat again real soon. We got more information coming up for our listeners. Great. Have a great rest of your week, Evan.
Take care. You guys, if you need to reach out, justinhealth.com, evanbrand.com. We are available.
And if you like the audio quality, guys, give us a thumbs up. We're making some tweaks. We're making some changes. Give us a share. Sharing is caring. We appreciate it. Leave a comment below. We want to know what you think about. Give us feedback. You drive kind of what we want to talk about next, and we'll answer those questions for you too.
Yeah, don't be a lurker. Give us some comments. Your comments are our oxygen.
Absolutely. I don't want you creeping in those YouTube posts. We want you out there kind of getting some good info out. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Evan, take care, man. Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.